you know, a disease of exiles. You know. Yeah, so I think that was it was also fascinating for me to come back and work with old friends and old colleagues. But you begin to realize that you have developed it differently. You have been to different places and situations that you no longer see things. I remember one time where me and Professor Manganyi was vice chancellor, I was deputy vice chancellor, and Mr. Malachi was also invited to the most terrifying meeting I ever attended by what is the UNASA? The academic. I remember, so I brought there. It was one of the most difficult meetings I ever attended at TEFLO. So one guy stood a professor, who used to be a friend of mine, still say, you see, you, the vice chancellor, you are an airborne vice chancellor. You are always flying overseas. Where are you? You see, this guy, when now the vice rector academic, they even forgot my name. They used to, vice rector academic. You see, you have lost touch. You don't even understand where you are. And in a sense, they were right. You know, so it was very, very bad. So as we went out, that I think that the day when Mangai decided he was going to resign from the University of the North, we went out. So we were going back to the fourth floor to his office. He says, "Man, Musha, you know, things are so bad here. You know, as a psychologist, I have to pretend that I don't see the things that I see." So it was a very, very difficult. I think for somebody coming back home after years, it was a very difficult re-entry because the landscape had changed, people had changed, the country had changed, the notions about freedom, you know, had to be tested again and again, and it was not easy. But I think TEFLO, by and large, was a far better place than I left it, in many ways.
For the record, Professor, you were charged by council to spearhead or push transformation at the university. Can you elaborate on that?
I was charged with writing a book that put the University of the North in disrepute. That was a charge, that was a formal charge. I think I still have a letter written by Professor Hware. And that I think Professor Bopape should have a copy of the letter, because when the letter was written, I was outside the country, and Professor Bopape was the chairman of BASA then, as I recall. I was charged with writing a book that put the University of the North in disrepute. I was charged also with inciting students against whites.
Again.
Against whites. I was charged with all sorts of things. I was charged also with spreading terrorism on campus. The act of terrorism included, even if you caused a car accident in the wrong place, it was terrorism. It was such an inclusive act. Yeah, I know the charges. I think I could get a copy of the letter. I think that I have. I know somewhere in my files. Those are the charges. Yeah, the book, you know, criticized the University of the North. It criticized bad education. It criticized apartheid. So that's what. And then they felt, instead of charging the association I was representing, they charged me as the author of all the terrible things that happened. So I was isolated from the Black Staff Association and charged as an individual.
Okay. One of those is the gender committee,
Yeah.
which you started. What had you hoped to achieve, not just with the gender committee, but the other programs, and did you actually achieve that?
Oh, I think what I was when I came back, from when I was asked to rejoin the university, I was immediately, which I mean, in retrospect, I thought was unfair talk, that I was asked to do two things. The first one, I was to chair BTC, to really chair the transformation committee. The second one was to renegotiate the cases of the 6 lecturers who were expelled by students and they had not been working for 18 months, I think, or some such thing. The first assignment, the first 2 assignments, I remember there were 6 of them who one of them was, I think, Slangwani, and other people in optometry. Yeah. So I was charged with that these are guys that the students don't like these guys. They say they are bad teachers, some of them are racist, and we have been trying to get to reconcile the students with these lecturers. And we have to pay these lecturers anyway. So you invested in paying the lecturers for doing nothing for 18 months. And I have to renegotiate that. And foolish me, I accepted the assignment, which was a total disaster. Because it became clear that, we needed a larger framework to reconcile them. And some of these cases, continued even after, after I'd left. The transformation BTC, I think, as I said, was successful in a number of ways. First, it made popular the language of transformation. Transformation was something that was talked about, and that was good. That in the air at TEFLOP, the language of transformation became familiar language, and that was good. At the time when it was taboo, it was immediately made popular by BTC. It also brought together, it established alliances between like-minded organizations, staff and students. It established a kind of framework for partnerships and alliances. It did that. You got your DUSA there, you got your SASCO there, you got NEHAU there, you got all sorts of, even Senate got involved, even the Kwakwa Senate got involved. So we worked out a framework for consensus building. I think that was achieved. We're able then, to appoint, through the BTC's efforts, President Mandela as a chancellor. It was a BTC effort. Those of content, that was a BTC effort. I remember I had to go to the Shell House with 10 members of BTC, and to plead with Mandela to accept being chancellor, because those days we didn't know whether to accept or not, because we were causing all sorts of things there. And the NEC accepted after the meeting of the NEC or the ANC, it accepted that. In fact, he called me after the meeting that no, the NEC had accepted that to be chancellor. So that's a major achievement in terms of the symbolism. And because it immediately transformed the ethos of the university into something different. You see, the second one, we had a council there that was constituted under the old act, which had, homeland people there, bandit king people there, and all of that, And Togo will remember, that council had lost such legitimacy that it caused more problems than anything else. I mean, you would, every day, something would fall from the ceiling. I'd go to the office, and how is there? it's a toying. Then when the how goes, the Sasco there, then there's PASO, and then there's everybody, and then the library staff is up in arms against each other. I mean, it was. Then the disabled students who was to take care of the able students programs. It was, and then it was very bad. It was very bad. Until we decided to dissolve the council. BTC decided to dissolve council. Okay. But we knew it was a tall order. So President Mandela was still the president, or was still the president of the ANC and not of the country. So I said to them, look, I was very close to know O.R. Tambo, you know, at different level. I was very close to him, and when he accepted the chancellorship of Fort, he asked me to write his acceptance speech, and I flew down to Alice with him. So I was very close to O.R., but I was not close to Mandela. I've never been. Now I said to the BTC guys, the 10 people who were to go sell out, look, guys, you know, it's now, you have to understand the ANC politics. The way to get at Mandela, you must go through OR. Because you know how Mandela is going to respond to this. He's going to say no. So I said, let me make an appointment with OR. We go there with Robinson Ramaite, George Mashamba, you know, all Masala, George Mabudafasi, we're all there. So you get to our house. So we sit down there. And, he was a very quiet, self-effacing man, but one of the most brilliant people we've ever seen in this country. So I say to I say, no, we have a problem with a council that enjoys no support, no trust, no confidence. We need a better, for the sake of legitimacy, we need a better council. Now, these guys don't want to resign voluntarily. Some of them are still on the present council. I won't name them. Some of them are senior guys in industry. So I said, this council must go. But they're refusing to go. And we want to dissolve them. But you know, we don't know how it's going to affect the ANC, because the president of the ANC is the chancellor of the university. We don't want this to affect the ANC's image in the region and the country. So what must we do? How can we go about this problem? OR looks at me and says, don't worry about the ANC. Depending on the reasons for dissolving the council, if their reasons are okay, don't worry about the ANC. That was a very cryptic answer. So they were, thank you, OR, we left. And we went to the big man himself in Shell House. We were shuffling there, we go there. We find him standing at the door of his office waiting for us. Next door, there is a whole bunch of German businessmen waiting for him at the same time. So we get there and I presented. He said, President, you know, we have this problem, you know, we have to dissolve this council because of ABCD. Now we're wondering whether this is the correct thing to do. We are here for advice. So he looks at me, he says, whatever the reasons for dissolving the council, don't do it. And he walked away from us. He walked away from us into the next room.